Codex just stopped being a developer tool, and that's a bigger deal than most people are saying. OpenAI this week released new Codex plugins, sites, and annotations built specifically for analysts, marketers, designers, and investors, not engineers, not just the people who can read a stack trace, everyone else who actually runs the day-to-day of a business. So let's talk about what this actually means, because the coverage I've seen mostly treats it like a product announcement. It's not. It's a signal about where AI-assisted work is going, and if you're building anything on top of these tools right now, you should care. Here's the setup. Codex started as a code generation model. Developers loved it. It auto-completed their functions, wrote their boilerplate, saved them hours. That was the pitch. That was the audience. But OpenAI just said openly that the new release targets roles that have never touched Codex before. Analysts who need to automate data pipelines without learning Python. Marketers who want to build or modify content workflows without filing a ticket to engineering. Designers who need to prototype or generate assets tied to actual production systems. Investors doing due diligence on companies where the mode is entirely software. And the timing matters. This isn't experimental. These tools are available starting now, not in a beta waitlist somewhere. The Wasmer story is the one I keep thinking about. Wasmer, a WebAssembly company, used Codex alongside GPT 4.5 to build a Node.js runtime from scratch. That's not a small project. A Node.js runtime is genuinely complex infrastructure, the kind of thing that normally takes a team months of grinding work. They did it in weeks, and they're reporting 10x to 20x acceleration in development speed. Now, I want to be careful here because 10x faster is the kind of claim that gets thrown around a lot and usually means nothing. But a full runtime in weeks? That's checkable. That's a real artifact that either works or it doesn't. So I'm inclined to take it seriously. What that tells me is that the ceiling on what AI-assisted teams can build has moved significantly, not theoretically, demonstrably. The Endava angle is different and honestly more interesting for anyone running a business. Endava isn't a startup experimenting with AI on the side. They're a major software delivery company, thousands of engineers, enterprise contracts. They're now redesigning their entire software delivery process around AI agents, using Codex alongside ChatGPT Enterprise. The reason this matters isn't the tooling, it's the organizational decision. Endava is betting that the shape of how you deliver software has permanently changed, not incrementally, structurally. They're not adding AI to the edges. They're rebuilding the center. Most commentary on this treats it like a case study in productivity gains. But look at it from the other direction. If a company the size of Endava is redesigning their core delivery model, then any business that competes with them and doesn't do the same thing is going to feel it. This is competitive pressure, not inspiration. Now here's the angle almost no one is talking about. The expansion of Codex to non-technical roles isn't primarily about making those roles more productive. It's about removing the bottleneck between deciding to build something and actually building it. Right now, in most companies, the gap between a marketer has an idea for an automation and that automation exists involves a handoff. It involves a ticket, a backlog, prioritization, a developer picking it up, and several rounds of, "That's not quite what I meant." That gap is expensive, it's slow, and it kills a lot of good ideas before they ever get tested. What OpenAI is doing with these new Codex tools is collapsing that gap. The analyst can build the data pipeline, the marketer can wire up the campaign trigger, the designer can push a prototype that actually connects to live systems. That changes the economics of experimentation inside a company. A lot of things that weren't worth the engineering cost become worth trying when the cost drops by 80%. Now the contrary in red. Everyone is going to call this democratization of coding, and that framing is partly right but mostly misleading. Because the hard part of automation was never writing the code. The hard part was knowing what to build and knowing when what you built is working correctly. Codex can write the code. It cannot tell an analyst whether their new pipeline is producing trustworthy numbers. It cannot tell a marketer whether their automation is attributing conversions correctly. It cannot tell a designer whether the generated asset actually fits the brand system it's supposed to live in. The skill that gets more valuable here isn't technical execution, it's judgment. Knowing whether the output is right, knowing when to trust it and when to verify it. That's the thing you can't outsource to a model yet. That's where the people who actually understand the domain, not just the tools, are going to win. So if your plan is, I'll just give Codex access to my business processes and let it run, you're going to have a bad time. If your plan is, I'll use Codex to build and iterate 10 times faster, and I'll stay in the loop on whether any of it is actually working, that's a real edge. So what does this mean if you're building a business on this stuff right now? First, take seriously the idea that your non-technical team members can now build automations directly. Don't gatekeep this through engineering. Give your analysts and marketers access, give them some guardrails, and see what they build. You'll be surprised. Second, the workflow glue layer becomes more important, not less. When more people are creating more automated processes and more tools, the connections between those tools matter a lot. Make is what I'd use for that. It's a visual automation builder that connects all these AI tools to your actual business systems without requiring code. If your marketing team builds something in Codex and it needs to feed into your CRM and trigger a Slack notification and update a spreadsheet, Make handles that whole chain cleanly. I may earn a small commission if you use my link. It's at make.com, register.pc/newsatech. Third, start thinking now about how your quality control processes change when the volume of automated work goes up. More automation means more surface area for things to be quietly wrong. Build in verification steps. Audit your outputs. Don't let the speed of generation outrun your ability to check the work. My honest take, OpenAI expanding Codex to every business role is less about any individual feature and more about the compounding effect of removing friction across an entire organization at once. The companies that figure out how to use that without losing quality control are going to look very different in 18 months. Here's the question I want you to think about. If the gap between idea and working automation disappears in your company, what's the first thing you'd build that you've been putting off because it wasn't worth the engineering cost?